Forget it all.
Isaiah 58 and verse 1.
Bring it on. Isaiah 58:1 reads, cry out loud.
Cry out loud. That's why you hear our voice so audible. Cry aloud. Go ahead.
Spare not.
Spare not. When we bring out the scriptures, we spare not. No matter how you feel about this book, your feelings will not be spared according to the word of the Most High. Go ahead.
Lift up thy voice like a trumpet.
This is the point of us raising our voice to make sure all people hear. Go ahead.
God, and shew my people.
Wait, show who?
My people.
Show who?
My people. Their transgressions.
So my job is to show you what you did wrong.
That's right.
You, the black people, the Latinos, and the Native Americans in this country, you went against the Most High power. You went against it. You brought the ruin onto yourselves. This is why Jerusalem, why does not kill thyself? You kill yourself by your actions and your deeds and your transgressions of the law. So my job is to remind you that you committed the sin and that everything coming towards you is because of your behavior towards the Most High. Right? Just like a parent, right, has you as a child, and something happens outside, something bad happens, you get in trouble. All the kids come to the house. Who does he beat? The other children or his own child? His own child is the one that's committed the sin. So his own child is the one that gets the punishment. And we cannot forget that. That's Isaiah 58 and 1. Show my people that transgress. I don't have the patience to deal with other nations. I can care less unless you come up to me and ask me the right question. You're a waste of time to me. Unless you seek after the Most High power. Or I call what's going on in the United States and the other countries and bring up the reality and the speed of what's going on. I will address you. But outside of that, you're unimportant to this. Go ahead.
God, and the house of Jacob.
And the house of who?
And the house of Jacob, their sins.
And the house of Jacob, their sins. That's you. That's the blacks and the Latins and Native Americans on this side of the world. There are Israelites on the other side of the world. You and your sin I'm concerned with. Go ahead.
She believes she's an Israelite.
Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways as a nation that did righteousness.
So we seek him daily and delight to know his ways as if we were righteous. Who is he talking to? Is he talking to other people or is he talking to us? So we seek after him daily as if we did righteous. Isn't that why Christ said there's none righteous but the Father? Right? That's why he said that, right? Go on.
I'm trying to get better. I'm
God,
doing a little video
that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinance of their God.
So in other words, he said we're moving on as if we didn't forsake any ordinances. As if we always did what we were supposed to. But such is not the case. That is not the case, because if we did as we were supposed to, you wouldn't hear me talking right now. You wouldn't see the face of your teachers. You wouldn't be walking out here because we wouldn't be in this captivity. However, we broke those ordinances, those laws, those statutes and commandments, and America is our punishment. What happens now, right, when you've been abused by somebody for so long and then they finally give you rest, all of a sudden you get comfortable. Then it's like, oh, well, maybe they're not that bad because they give you peace. But what happens? Just like a woman in travail, the trouble comes again. The trouble comes again. You haven't seen blatant racism in a long time, but what? The trouble is coming again. You get peace you get rest, but in your rest you forget history. You forget what happened to you. You fall back to sleep. Most of you may have woken up, but you keep hitting the snooze button and you go right back to sleep. So woke absolutely means nothing if you don't get out the bed and do the work of the Most High. Woke is a waste of time. Read.
That was funny as hell.
God, they ask of me the ordinance of justice. They take delight in approaching to God.
So you ask the Most High for his ordinances of justice, and you delight in approaching him. But prior, he just said, you act like you're righteous, but you delight in approaching him. So you got to remember to humble yourself before you go to the Most High, because he said you're acting like you're righteous the way you come up to me, right? So give me 2 Corinthians 10. We're going to start from the top. We're going to stay on Israel. Because that's who I'm out here for. I'm here for the lost sheep. I'm not out here for goats or any other animal or any beast of the field. I am out here for the lost sheep. Just like my king was out here for the lost sheep, I am out here for the lost sheep.
That's right.
2 Corinthians 10, start at verse 1. This is Paul speaking.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 1.
Bring it out.
Now I, Paul, myself beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ.
So now, watch this. Now Paul comes with meekness and gentleness of the Mashiach. Now we know the meekness and gentleness of the Mashiach was necessary. Meekness and gentleness doesn't mean I won't put hands on you. But my approach to you is going to be different. I'm going to make sure you listen because I'm a fisherman. I'm going to lure you in. But make note, meekness and gentleness only last but for so long. And that force against negativity and that negativity comes, things can happen. But I'm approaching you this way. This is Paul. There's a reason he's saying this. Go ahead.
Who in presence am base among you.
So in your presence, I'm base among you. I bring myself down. I'm lowering my standard. I'm being who you are. I'm acknowledging how you speak and how I speak. I'm trying to recognize you as I see you. I'm base among you. Go ahead.
But being absent am bold toward you.
But being absent, I'm bold towards you. That's what's happening in these letters. Being not in your presence, he's bold towards you. He's making sure you know what that word says and that you understand what it means. So if I'm absent here and I call in, I'm saying, listen, that brother's wrong. Make sure he gets those scriptures. But when I'm in front of you, I'm base. It's not that I'm changing. It's just I want to make sure you get what I'm saying, that you're willing to accept what I'm saying. When I tell you the word, I don't care about your feelings as far as the word's concerned. If the word says you have to repent and you have to change your clothes, you have to act a certain way, that's what you have to do. I don't care how you feel. But personally, I'm not going to come at you. Go ahead.
But I beseech you.
I implore you to listen. Go ahead.
That I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence, wherewith I think to behold, where I think to be bold against some.
Where you think to be bold against something. I'm not going to treat you how I treat everybody else, right? The way I talk to the other nations, I'm not going to talk to you the same way, right? Because I'm here for you, for the lost sheep. But if you come with ignorance, I will make sure that you understand that you are ignorant. And I will show you wisdom and correct you in the presence of your peers, which is us and other black folks. You have to understand who you are. We are out here to tell you who you are. Yes, you are the greatest people on the earth, but you are at the bottom. You knew once upon a time that you were kings and queens.
That's right.
But what do you say?
You charge it?
When I came down,
You charge it? No.
that's what happened to you. You came down. You did a crate challenge your whole life and you came down.
Oh, I didn't remember that
Right?
shit.
So
Where
we're
they get
trying
that
to
shit
make
from?
you understand that you're the greatest people. Yes, you're the fastest. Yes, you run fast. But let me ask you this. We know our physical prowess. But are you intelligent? Are you spiritual? You might be better physically, but are you better mentally? Are you sharp? Do you have acuity? Do you have understanding of these scriptures? Because we've been used by these people for their entertainment.
Right.
For their entertainment. All our physical abilities, they showcase it. Why? They showcase it to make you run from the intellectual side of what you're supposed to be doing. So they highlight it. Yeah, look at you. Oh man, yup, you got us beat. But meanwhile, they're dumbing you down.
Right.
They are dumbing you down. Right? You go to college, right? That's a good thing in this society. You make money. That's a good thing in this society. However, what are you becoming? Do they teach you about your heritage? Do they teach you that you're the people of the book? They teach you none of that. So what they're doing is teaching you to become a dysfunctional white person in black skin.
That's right.
This is why you're taught by Greeks. This is why you're taught by Romans to be a dysfunctional white person in black skin. You get all this money, right? You buy everything in the world. You buy a car that says Ford. Whose last name is that? Is that a black man's last name or a white man's last name? When you go to these stores and you buy clothes, is that your last name? So all the intelligence you have, you're still giving them money. All the businesses that you have, you're still giving them money. Yet, you still think somehow that you should get reparations from this country when the economy is falling and the dollar you get won't be worth a dime and you're fighting for dollars that have fiat value, colorful money. It changes when they say so.
Teacher.
Why not ask for land? Why not ask for land and construction vehicles and seeds and plant? Because they can't take that away from you. But the money they can devalue it in a second. You're not using intelligence. You want money because that's how this system works. Because you are a product of the system. You should ask for land. You should ask for seeds because you will become independent. And then if you want to see a real war, you become independent in this land. Watch how fast they come to take you down. Watch how fast they come to take you down. But I'm digressing. Go back to Paul.
I think to be bold against some, which think of us as if we walk according to the flesh.
You think of us as if we walk according to the flesh, and that's not the case. We walk according to the Spirit. You're hearing what we say, but the words that we're saying from here is Spirit. We do not walk according to the flesh. Go ahead.
For though we walk in the flesh,
Though we physically walk in the flesh, we are alive, we are moving. Go ahead.
we do not war after the flesh.
We do not war after the flesh. We have enough mental and spiritual battles going on that I ain't got time to deal with you like that. You have to fight the battles that's in your head. The sister has to fight the battle of the pretend fight that started in her mind before her husband even walked in the house. The husband has to fight the battle of things he's getting used to his woman saying before she says it. He starts the argument, but nothing was said. Those are demons. Those are spirits that are in your mind. Yes, some of that is experience, but those are voices that are in your head. You are warring against the flesh. You need to know, Salah, you're warring against in the spirit, but you're not aware of what goes on spiritually. Most of your arguments started in your head before you even saw the person. Those are demons and suggestions that go on. You war not according to the flesh, but the spirit. Go ahead.
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, because if they were, we would have picked them up and used them already. We would have already been fighting, but that shows what? It doesn't work. If that was the case, we would have already fought, but guess what? We're outnumbered here. We're out-weaponed. This is why the Most High says in Deuteronomy 28, no man shall buy you, nor free. You are incapable of fighting this monstrosity that runs this country.
I'm trying to
You can fight, but you will get slaughtered. This is why the Messiah has to come back. This is why you have to repent so you can be on his side. His return. Go ahead.
But mighty through God.
But how?
But mighty through God.
That is where your power comes from. Mighty through the Most High. Mighty through who you call God. If you do not access Him, you have no power. You might be physically strong, but guess what? When the white man realizes you're that physically strong, he's going to put you in jail. And then when you're in jail, what are you going to do with that strength besides defend your backside? That's the only thing you're going to have left to do. You're going to have to build up that spirituality. Build up that true freedom that comes with understanding these scriptures. Because it says in the Bible, the truth shall set you free. The truth of who you are, the truth of the nation that you're from, the truth of who you're supposed to serve and how you're supposed to serve. That's the truth that will set you free.
The magnifying glass.
To the pulling down of strongholds.
The pulling down of strongholds. When you get this word in you, the law, statutes, and commandments, and the faith of the Messiah, then you pull down strongholds. Why is it that the people that have nothing, when they speak the Bible, all of a sudden everybody attacks? What is it about your words that they hate? You don't have a weapon, but they're afraid for you to speak. You don't have a weapon, but they call you a terrorist. Why? Because these words are power.
The first one.
Pulling down strongholds by the word of the Most High God. Go ahead.
Casting down imagination.
Casting down imaginations. You got to subdue the thoughts that are in your mind that are running loose, that you know are wrong. You have to subdue them. Casting down those imaginations. Go ahead.
And every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God.
We cast down every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of the Most High God, including other people, including family members and strangers, including our open and unseen enemies. We cast down all of that. Anything that exalts itself against this word and the Most High God gets cast down. Gets cast down. You don't have a place to talk to us.
What's your name?
Doing this. Go ahead.
And bringing into captivity every thought to the the obedience
So
of
now I'm gonna come
Christ.
up as William
Bringing
Sheffield,
into
okay?
Well, I'm Sheffield, but
captivity.
you could
The
DM me
thought
Loud.
has to be
Okay.
surrendered to
Right,
the Messiah.
okay.
And you
The
said
thought has to
Sundays?
be surrendered. The
No,
same
Saturday,
way that these
Friday
people
night,
physically
8 o'clock.
try to make you surrender,
Sunday
you have to do the
afternoon
same
at
with the
12.
thoughts.
Send me
And
that.
then you have to bring that
It's
out.
on there too.
And when you bring out that
Alright.
word and you
On
stand in
me.
that
Grand
word
rising.
and they try to
Right.
speak
Grand
against you,
evening.
they
Grand
will
rising.
surrender because they don't have
Grand
power
rising.
over the word. Especially when the right people from the correct nation are serving the right God, you cannot compete against who we are and what we do with this book. Because we know who the Most High Power is. We know what the law, statutes, and commandments are. We have the faith in the Word. We will bring you into subjection if you try to come against this book. Go ahead.
And having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience.
Now here's the good part. When you do all of that, having in readiness to revenge all disobedience,
When your obedience is fulfilled.
that's the caveat. You cannot revenge anything this white man does in this country unless your obedience is fulfilled. So you step out and touch him and you haven't been obedient, you're going down with him. Right? You have to fulfill your obedience first. Then you can put hands. Then you can touch because the Most High is going to give you the word. You're not going to act on your own. You're not going to have a premeditated thought. You're going to know the time is right because you did what you're supposed to. You kept the law, statutes, and commandments, and that vengeance will come on its own. You'll know when it's the right time. Moses knew when it was the right time. Moses was meek and humble. He didn't set out to kill that Egyptian, but that day came when the Most High said, take him out. And he killed that Egyptian. And what did the Most High do? Did he kill him? No. He was like, leave, go flee and hide somewhere. And he came back years later. So don't think the Most High doesn't have that in his mind, that that vengeance needs to be done. But you need to play your part in order to achieve that vengeance. Go ahead.
Do ye look on things after the outward appearance?
Do you look on things after the outward appearance? Because I'll tell you, I'd be surprised how many times somebody that looks like me comes by and then tell me, end up they're Caucasian, their father's Caucasian, and their mother's black. So I will not judge you by your color. I will judge you by the words that come out of your mouth and your willingness to submit to the word of the Most High God. That's why the Messiah said, who is my mother or my brethren, but him that does the will of my Father. If you are not willing to do the will of my Father, I don't have to call you brother, and I don't have to call you sister. I do it out of love. But if you're not willing to follow the Most High, I don't have to acknowledge that. Right? What do they say? Not all skin folk is kin folk. That's facts. That's facts. You can look like me if you want, but if you're not following the Most High God, I don't have to acknowledge you.
That's right.
Please know that, and I won't just give it to you like that. Go ahead.
If any man trusts to himself,
If any man trusts to himself, go ahead. So this is becoming devoid of the Most High. Go on.
that he is Christ,
That he is, so you trust to himself that he's Christ. Go ahead.
let him of himself think this again.
Let him think again. Think you have to reconsider. You think you're his? Reconsider. Think about it again. Are you sure that you're his? Go ahead.
That as he is Christ, even so are we Christ.
It's not just you. Even so are we. You think you're Christ, so do we. Right? Go ahead.
For though I should boast somewhat more of our authority,
So that we boast somewhat more of our authority from knowing this word. Go ahead.
which the Lord hath given us for edification, and not for your own destruction.
He's given us this word for edification and not for our destruction. So my job is to get you out of that coming destruction that's on you. It's to get you out of the curse that was placed on you in Deuteronomy. To get you out of that mindset. To get you into the right mindset. Go ahead.
I should not be ashamed, that I may not seem as if I would terrify you by letters. For his letters say they are weighty and powerful, but his bodily presence is weak.
So they say all your words is powerful, but your body presence is weak. That's deep. That's really deep. Go ahead.
And his speech contemptible.
And the speech becomes contemptible. Go ahead.
Let such a one think this, that such as we are in word by letters, when we are absent, such will we be also in deed when we are present.
So indeed, when we are present. So what I say and what you hear me say, you may hear it on a video, you may see me in person, it has to be the same message. There's no weakness. It has to be consistent. You have to think the same thing when I'm not here and when I am here. When I speak this word away from you, it should be the same word I speak when I'm in front of you. Go ahead.
For we dare not make ourselves of the number or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves, but they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise.
So when you compare yourself to the highest people, to that great number, he's saying that's not a wise move. Because he told you, he just said, if you think you're Christ, think again. So now as you go comparing yourself, you walk around in the garden in the midst, eating swine's flesh, holier than thou, you're comparing yourself to who? You're comparing yourself against yourself. You're not wise. Go ahead.
But we will not boast of things without our measure.
We boast within measure. I'm not going to talk over what I do. I'm not going to talk on a subject that I didn't conquer. I'm not going to tell you not to do a sin that I didn't overcome yet, because when I tell you that, I'm a hypocrite. So I got to tell you based on what I know and what I understand and what I overcame based on His word. Go ahead.
But according to the measure of the rule which God hath distributed to us, a measure to reach even unto you.
So a measure to reach even unto you. So everything that I learned, I'm supposed to reach it back out to you. Go ahead.
For we stretch not ourselves beyond our measure.
Stretch not beyond our measure. I'm not going to make myself greater than I am, but I know I am great based on this book. Go ahead.
As though we reached not unto you. For we are come as far as to you also in preaching the gospel of Christ.
So that's what we come out here for, to preach the gospel, that the kingdom is coming and you need to repent.
Right.
Understand something. The Christ that you know is not the Christ of the Bible.
Right.
I guarantee most of you out here that think you know Christ by hearsay. You know Christ by way of the church, but not the Bible.
That's right.
Ask yourself this question, right? People always have a problem when they say Christ is black. Let me ask you a question. How come nobody asks, why is Christ white? Why doesn't anybody ask, why did you make him white? How was it years later that you found out he was darker? Who lied about it? You did. You're the same people that said we only came from slavery. Then, hundreds of years later, all of a sudden we're the original people. You're the one that said Christ was white. Then all of a sudden now he's brown. Now he's Middle Eastern brown. And that's a new crayon to justify what they said. Why did you make him white? Why is it that in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary it tells you who Ham is, right? The forefathers of the Africans, Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, Canaan, all these people, dark skinned. In Ethiopia, right? You have Nimrod, right? So he's Ethiopian, he's dark skinned. So why is it when I go on Google and I type Nimrod, a white man comes up? Who lied? Who lied and why is he white? Stop asking, oh, Christ, but no. Why did you make him white? Why did you go to Ethiopia, say these are all black people, and still paint a white image? That's racism. Me acknowledging what the book says is not racism, that's facts. You're the one that's racist. You can't even acknowledge what you did, or what your forefathers, or your ancestors, or your teachers did. You are unwilling to acknowledge it. So people that aren't willing to acknowledge the atrocities that they did, how the hell do you go ask them for money? They're not even willing to acknowledge who you are. They say, oh, we figured out the truth of the Bible and everything comes in all the nations, but you niggas are not included in that conversation. You gotta ask yourself that question. Where did you come from based on this book? Well, we're here to tell you that you're the Israelites of the Bible. You're the ones that were brought here in captivity. You're the ones that the Messiah is going to come and take revenge for, right? See, the reason a lot of our brothers, Hotep, so on and so forth, don't like the scriptures because they heard church. We come out here and read, thus saith the Lord. It is different than what they say in church because we actually read the Bible. Thank you, brothers. We actually read what the scriptures said. Go to Revelation 1 and 12. I'm going to switch subjects real quick. We're going to show you, is it 1 and 12 on this subject? Right, we're going to show you that Christ is not the. Let me correct that. There's more than one Christ. There's Christ that the church teaches, and then there's the Christ of the Bible. And Christ means anointed. There are two different Christs, right? The Christ in church is actually antichrist. because it doesn't look, sound, or act anything like the one in the book. Right? Let me get Revelations 1 and 12. Go ahead.
The book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 12. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks.
So 7 golden candlesticks like a menorah. Go ahead.
And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man.
So in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, he saw one like unto the Son of Man. Go ahead.
Clothed with a garment down to the foot.
Clothed with a garment down to the foot, which is the exact reason why we wear things like this. Go ahead.
And girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
Girt about the paps with a golden girdle, right? Comes up to the bottom of the chest. Go ahead.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
So here's a trick that's played again. His head and his hairs were white like wool. So they say, see, his head is white, so, oh, there you go. No. White here is the Greek word lukos, which means lightning, which means he was emanating light from him. It didn't mean the skin color of his head was white. It meant his head was white with light. And his hairs were white. Go ahead.
As white as snow.
Right.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire.
And his eyes were as flame of fire. Do you not see that when you go into the so-called darker continents like Africa? Do you not see that when you go into Jamaica and all these hot places that all the men's eyes are red? Right. Like flames in that sun, right? That's a natural occurrence in hot areas, right? Same thing where Christ was. Go ahead.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
And his feet like unto fine brass, which is a brownish gold color. So already his feet are not white. Go ahead.
As if they burned in a furnace.
So now you're taking this brown and golden color and burning it in a furnace, right? Burning it in the furnace, which is going to make it darker. Right? Darker. So for you got a gold to a golden brown color that's becoming darker. And you have hair of wool. Who else has hair of wool on this earth besides black people? Besides the indigenous black people. And that's black Cubans. That's black Mexicans, like in Oaxaca and in Peru. There's the Israelitas in Peru that believe in the Messiah and they follow the law, statutes, and commandments. These are the people that we're talking about. Because do understand that in those countries, the government did not allow them, the people there, to call themselves black. They had to identify as Caucasian. Why? Why do you seek to hide us wherever we are? Why is it we can identify with something? Because you know something that most of us don't, right? Okay, wait, hold on. All right, go ahead. So we're going to stay with this image, with this color of Christ. Go ahead. This is Daniel. Because a lot of you say, oh, his color is not in the book, but we're going to read Daniel because a lot of you hate the Old Testament. Go ahead.
Daniel 7 and 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
So I beheld till the thrones were cast down, right? This world was ending. Go ahead.
And the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow.
Right? So now we're dealing whose garment was white as snow. We're dealing with the Father. Go ahead.
And the hair of his head like the pure wool.
And the hair of his head like the pure wool. Like Father, like Son. Go ahead.
His throne was like the fury flame, fiery flames, like it, and his wheels as burning fire.
And his wheels like burning fire. Go ahead, read.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8, verse 1. Who is as the wise man, and who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine.
So a man's wisdom, making his face to shine. Right. So now when we said his head and his hands were white, how much wisdom does the Messiah have? That's light that's emanating from him. That is not white skin. Right? So let's go into what the rest of the Messiah's body looked like by this prophecy.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down,
So, go ahead. Yeah, we're going into the color. Go ahead.
The book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 6. His body also was like the beryl.
All right, start over. Go ahead.
Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen.
So a certain man clothed in linen. So we know the Messiah to be clothed in linen. Again, this is the Old Testament speaking on the Messiah. Go ahead.
Whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz.
So whose loins were girded, just like it said in Revelation, just like John saw. Go ahead.
His body also was like the beryl,
His body was like the beryl. He had a green color on. Go ahead.
and his face has the appearance of lightning.
So now his face is the appearance of lightning, which is what we said in Revelation was a Greek word, lukos, which we said the one holds all that wisdom, light emanates from his face. So get that white skin out of your mind. Get that out of your mind. It is not in the scripture. The one that taught you that is Antichrist. Understand that. If he's from the church and he teaches you that Christ is white and he's reading the Bible, he is an Antichrist. Go ahead.
And his arms and his eyes as lamps of fire,
And his eyes as lamps of fire. Go ahead.
and his arms and his feet like in color.
So his arms and his feet are like in color, but you say color doesn't matter. You say there's no color in the Bible, but he clearly just read his arms and feet are like in color, which shows consistency from his arms to his feet. We read in Revelation what color his feet were. So let's see what color his arms are.
Like in color to polished brass.
So now his arms and his feet is like in color to polished brass. So if his arms and his feet are like in color to polished brass, then I could assume his body's like that.
Right.
Then I could assume his face is like that. And then I can assume that white people lied to you about the color of Christ. Because we just read his color in the book. And the Most High says his word does not go out in vain. So if he told you his color, it's because you're supposed to know it. If he told you his color, he knew somebody was going to change it. If he tells you to remember the Sabbath, he knew you would forget. So the reason that you're told the color of Christ in the Bible, because in this day it matters.
Right.
Because you have liars around you. You have people that don't want you to link up and relate to the Messiah that's coming. Right? When you oppress a people, right, you don't educate them. You do not educate them. And if you do educate them, you limit the amount of education that you give them. So to come, so that they cannot then turn against you. This is why when so-called after slavery was free, the slaves were free, a decree was sent out that you could not learn to read. You were not being able to be taught to read. This is the consistency of these antichrists. This is the consistency of the Esau, Edom, Idumean nation against the people of the Bible, the Israelites. The Israelites, which is you blacks and you Latinos and Native Americans in this country, which is the people in Britain, which is some of the people in Mauritania, which is some of the people in Guinea and the Congo and those areas. Your people are still over there. You're scattered around the four corners of the earth, and you have to get back to your nationality. And when you get back to your nationality, you will then know the purpose for your life. You will then know why you're supposed to serve and who you're supposed to